If you've got a carton of Graham's Family Dairy semi-skimmed milk in your fridge right now, stop before you pour it. Testing found antibiotics, including penicillin, inside it. Today's story is a bit different from an allergen mix-up or a factory equipment fault. This one's about a veterinary medicine ending up in a product people drink every single day. Graham's Family Dairy is recalling its semi-skimmed milk after testing detected veterinary medicines, including the antibiotic penicillin, present in the product. Penicillin and antibiotics in general are commonly used in dairy farming to treat sick cows, things like infections or mastitis. That part isn't unusual on its own. Treating sick animals is a normal part of farming. The issue is what's supposed to happen next. Milk from a treated cow is meant to be withheld from the food supply for a set period of time, called a withdrawal period, until the medicine has fully cleared the animal's system. When that process fails somewhere along the line, residue can end up in milk that reaches supermarket shelves. Dairies are required to test milk regularly for exactly this kind of residue before it goes out for processing and distribution. Withdrawal periods vary depending on the specific medicine and dosage used, but they're calculated to make sure drug levels drop below a safe threshold before that milk re-enters the food supply. A failure like this one typically points to either a mislabeled or miscommunicated treatment record for a specific animal, or a gap somewhere in the testing process itself, rather than a single obvious mistake anyone would catch by eye. Here's the part that makes this more serious than it might initially sound. Penicillin allergies are one of the most common drug allergies, and for someone with a genuine penicillin allergy, exposure through contaminated milk could trigger a reaction, even though they'd have no reason to expect an antibiotic in a dairy product at all. There's also a broader public health concern tied to antibiotic residue showing up in food more generally. Health researchers have raised ongoing concerns about low-level antibiotic exposure through food, contributing to antibiotic resistance over time. One of the reasons regulators enforce those withdrawal periods so strictly in the first place. To be clear, this isn't about the milk being contaminated with something exotic or unheard of. It's a regulated, well-understood risk, but one that depends entirely on farms and processors following the correct procedures every time, without exception. The fact that this recall happened at all shows the system did eventually catch the issue, which is exactly how it's supposed to work. Testing identified a problem, and the product was pulled before wider harm occurred. The concern isn't that testing failed completely. It's that whatever process is meant to prevent treated milk from entering the supply chain in the first place broke down somewhere upstream of that final check. If you've bought Graham's Family Dairy semi-skimmed milk recently, check the batch details on your carton against the official recall notice. I'll leave that link in the description. If it matches, don't drink it, regardless of whether you have a known penicillin allergy or not, since this is a genuine safety recall, not just a precaution for a specific group. Return it to wherever you bought it for a full refund. And if you or anyone in your household has a diagnosed penicillin allergy, it's worth mentioning this recall to them directly, since this is exactly the kind of contamination that wouldn't be obvious just from smell, taste, or appearance. More broadly, this is a good reminder that recalls aren't only about bacteria, allergens, or packaging faults. Sometimes it's about a regulatory process, like a medicine withdrawal period, simply not being followed correctly somewhere upstream in the supply chain. It's a different category of failure entirely, and it's worth understanding that food safety covers a much wider range of risks than most people think about day to day. This is a good example of why food safety isn't just about what's added to a product on purpose. It's also about making sure the right processes are actually followed every single time, on every single farm, before a product reaches your fridge. A single missed step somewhere in that chain is enough for something like this to happen, even with testing systems already in place.